For today's Cranbrook Collection Deep Dive, we're going to get into one of the museum's most recent acquisitions from Detroit artist Mario Moore. Mario Moore, born 1987, is a Detroit native who received his BFA from the College for Creative Studies in Detroit, Michigan, and his MFA in painting from the Yale School of Art in New Haven, Connecticut. As an artist, Moore is deeply interested in the past and is drawn to the stories and experiences of African Americans. The painting in our collection, titled Thornton and Lucy Blackburn in Canaan, is an oil painting created in 2022 as a part of Moore's exhibition, Midnight in Canaan, at David Klein Gallery in Detroit, Michigan. For this series, Moore was inspired by the history of the Underground Railroad in the Canadian border cities of Detroit, known here by its codename Midnight, and Windsor, Canada, known by its codename Canaan. Moore was especially drawn to the story of Thornton and Lucy Blackburn, the subjects in the painting in our collection. The Blackburns were anti-slavery activists who escaped slavery in Kentucky but were recaptured in Detroit 2 years later. Their incarceration inspired the local black community to come together in protest, which resulted in the Blackburn Riots of 1833, which can be seen in the glowing, fiery background of the painting. Ultimately, the Blackburns succeeded in their quest for freedom and settled in Toronto, Canada, where they built a home and a prosperous business. This is reflected in the painting by showing the Detroit skyline as seen from the Canadian side of the Detroit River. Moore highlights historical figures like the Blackburns in Midnight in Canaan and poses questions like, what place is there in contemporary Detroit for new black pioneers? And how do the legacies of these resistance efforts persist today in Detroit? To further underline these questions, Moore uses Detroit contemporaries as his models. For Thornton and Lucy Blackburn in Canaan, Moore asked Morgan Hudson, also known as the musical artist and performer Super Cool Wicked, and her partner Darius Faber to pose as the Blackburns. Of this body of work, Moore writes, "This series, my first body of work that depicts the early history of black people in Detroit and Windsor, is about black agency and resistance. It asks the viewer to consider the challenges, stamina, and willpower of people from the past and present within these two cities."